How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to New Mexico State Men's Basketball News. I'm Marshall, and as you guys see, I'm back in the Crimson Wire room, and I actually just wrote a story about the season overview for the Aggies, which is what this video is going to be about, a season analysis. So I think I'm just going to follow the range of order that I did for that story, and I'm going to try to post that story as a community post so you guys can get the link and check it out. I think that'd be awesome if you guys could. I really appreciate it if you guys could. It's going to go over a lot of information about this video, so it's kind of a transcript for this. Let's get straight into this video, and yeah. So first things first, I think it's worth noting that it's just amazing that the Aggies were able to have a winning season. It feels really good. I know they lost in the first round of the Conference USA tournament, which we didn't want, but we knew it was it could be a possibility. I think a lot of people could agree that this team could easily got the first round like they did, or they could easily went to the championship game and possibly won it. The conference was so wide open for everybody. Liberty actually plays against Oregon today, so my friends are going to try to probably hate watch that game and root for Oregon. And I'm from Oregon. I have cousins that go there, so I'm going to root for them. And then UNM, they also play against Marquette, so we'll probably hate watch them as well. Root for Marquette, kind of like we did last year with, when they played against Clemson, and Clemson dominated them, even though they just lost yesterday to McNeese. Pretty crazy game because McNeese's coach, I think, took another job offer interview somewhere else or something like that. So a lot of people, including myself, thought they were going to lose that game. But they did not. They won it. They almost blew a 22-point lead, but they got the win. They might have been up by more than that. I'm not too sure. But that's in my bracket, so it's not perfect. But I have two different friend groups that I'm doing brackets for, and I'm number one in both of them as of so far. I have Tennessee winning the whole thing. Let me know in the comments who you have winning the whole thing. Obviously the Aggies are accustomed to having so many great dominant teams, so many teams that make the tournament and just do a lot of great things and upset people like UConn, or they had that 93 win. But the past two seasons haven't been like that. The Hazen year, the Aggies just went 9-15 after starting out 7-5 in conference. So not so great start, but not a bad start either. Had a winning record to start, and then just played really poorly in conference. I was talking to my professor about that earlier today. We were kind of going, just how the past couple years have gone since I've been here. Then obviously last year was the rebuild year, 13-19. Didn't expect much from that team. I don't think anybody did, but honestly, I would say that they exceeded expectations, even though they only had 13 wins. It was just a really hard year to come off. So you go 13-19 in the first year for rebuild, not too bad, and then having a winning season your second year into a rebuild, not bad at all. Again, would have been nice to go farther in the tournament. There's a lot of games we let slip away. I was thinking about it today. I think we honestly could have went 25-6 because if you think about it, the Pepperdine and the Bowling Green games that we played in that little mini tournament at the start of the year are teams that were better than teams that we should have won. And I'm trying to think of other games as well, like the Jacksonville State and the Kennesaw State games at home early in conference play that we kind of just blew at the end. Should have won those games. That Sam Houston game at the end of the season should have been a win. Officiating wasn't great, and they were just making everything, but we were still in there and could have won if a couple calls went our way. I'm trying to think of something like the UTEP game, just couldn't shoot the ball well. Same with that Liberty game at home. There's a lot of games that we just simply couldn't shoot the ball well at all. If we would have shot the ball good, we would have won without a doubt. If our defense or if our offense was as good as our defense. But again, it's the past. You can't rain too much on it. I remember even early in the year, Coach Hayden was talking about, I think they started off like 4-6, but he was like they easily could have been 8-2 if they just didn't let games slip away. And that's why Aggie teams in the past were super dominant. They were like 24-6, 25-6, 24-7, 25-7, whatever it may have been, because they never let games slip away. They even had some 30-win seasons there, 28-win seasons. I've been talking about a lot to my friends about that. They had a lot of close games that they just won, and these Aggie teams recently this year just had a lot of close games they lost, some close games they won. But hopefully for next year they can have a lot of games that they're able to win in these close matchups and improve the win total by a decent amount. Get over 20 wins is definitely possible, and making the tournament is something that I think everybody wants. Another thing I want to point out is that we have the 9 seniors and they all you would think they'd be gone. It's hard to say because a lot of them might have extra years of eligibility because of the whole Pavia rule and how when you play junior college for a year or two, you can always get a year or two back of eligibility to play NCAA basketball. So I know Zadi just entered the portal, so I don't know if he'll get picked by anybody else or if he'll decide to come back. Peter technically did play a year of junior college basketball, so I guess there's always that chance he could come back. I'm not sure how it's looking for everybody. I know Christian Cook, for example, he didn't play any junior college basketball that I know of. I believe he just played 3 years of Division II, then the 2 years of Division I, so he'll be done. But Jaden Harris, for example, played 2 years of junior college basketball and would be done because he just played his 2 years of NCAA Division I basketball. But he could have another 2 years because of the JUCO years, and some other guys as well. So I'm not too sure whether they kind of play by year. I feel like Jaden would be a guy to stay since he already stayed before. And I know Robert Carpenter's been playing college basketball for a while. Remember I was talking to Keelan last year, who was on the team. He was telling me how Robert hadn't finished like 3 seasons, so he could have those years of eligibility back. It's so difficult. I was talking to my professor about it this morning as well, how most players back in the day just played 4 years of college basketball, just like in high school. But now you have guys playing, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, even sometimes even more. Like there's a 34-year-old kicker from Michigan State. It's all over the place. Who knows, what's going on. But if we can try to maintain some of those guys, that'd be awesome. Speaking of the team as well, I was at Chick-fil-A last night with some friends. I didn't get anything to eat because I wanted to save money, but they wanted to go and get some stuff. And we ran into the 3 freshmen there. We ran into Gabe Pickens, Jacoby Osborne, and Marvin Cox. I talked to Gabe a handful of times. Never talked to Marvin, even though I played against him in high school. Never talked to Jacoby either. But so I saw them 3 there. Gabe saw me, said what's up, because again, I've talked to him before. And then Marvin, introduced himself to me because I never talked to him. And then I never didn't say anything to Jacoby. Maybe one of these days I will. They call me P because my Instagram handle is Panther Marshall. And fun fact, a lot of people wonder why my Instagram handle is Panther Marshall. The reason it is because in high school, when I played in El Paso, my first couple years at El Dorado High School, we had this play called Panther, and it's pretty much set up for me to come off a screen and get a wide open 3 at the top of the key with the posts, setting screens for me to get an open look. That play is called Panther Marshall. And after we got our first win, our freshman year of high school, I hadn't had Instagram up to the point, and everyone was telling me to make an Instagram. We were trying to figure out a good name for me, and my friend Caleb just suggested Panther Marshall, and everyone was like, yeah, go ahead, do it. They thought it'd be kind of a funny joke. And so I've just kept it ever since. I feel like I just can't change it now. It's kind of history. And my old JV coach from El Paso, Coach Art, he texted me the other day because he's followed me on Instagram for a couple months now. And I guess he didn't know that my handle was Panther Marshall. I guess he never realized it. And he's like, he texted me and thought that was pretty funny. So that's your fun fact for the day about me. It's funny, another thing I was telling my professor earlier was that Chick-fil-A seems to be the place where I run into those guys. Not those 3 freshmen, that was the first time I ran into them there. I did run into them at the Chick-fil-A on campus port as well. Talked to Gabe again at Chick-fil-A. It's always Chick-fil-A where I see him usually, which is kind of funny. I guess he just loves Chick-fil-A. Because there's a Chick-fil-A on campus, obviously at NMSU, then the one right across campus. If you live in the area, you know that. But earlier in the school year, I think it was right before basketball season started, I ran into Deontay Bostic, Jaden Harris, and Edward Namoko at Chick-fil-A. So whenever I would go to the games and one of those 3 guys got buckets, I would just call them the Chick-fil-A game. I thought that was pretty funny. And I can call those 3 freshmen the same thing. And I'm assuming those 3 freshmen are going to stay. They seem really close. I think they all live in Pinon Hall, which I should probably ask them, because every time Jacoby, does something good, or there's a post about Jacoby or a post with Gabe, they always just say Pinon Hall, or even Terriante Thomas, our assistant coach, said Pinon Hall with a laughing emoji, which I know that's where those guys live, because I've seen the posts about being there and stuff. So I wonder if that's just that's because where they live, or they made a whole joke out of it. I thought that was kind of funny. They didn't just have a winning season overall. They had a winning season in conference play as well, going 10-8. Again, could have easily had a couple more wins in there. But that was huge. Conference USA was just ranked 8th out of competitiveness or something around the lines of that. Which is why, it'd be nice if we could get more teams than just one team in the tournament. The SEC has 14 out of 16. I don't think that's fair at all. You have Texas, who made it. They lost to Xavier. They were 6-12 in conference. Same with Oklahoma, 6-12 in conference. UNC got in, who people didn't think deserved to be in. So I wish there was a chance where it wasn't just one team from a smaller conference to get in, because I think Conference USA is still a really good basketball conference. Not a great football conference, really good baseball conference as well. Just well overall, but specifically basketball, because that's obviously what we're talking about today. Like I've stated multiple times on the channel, this season was just full of highs and lows. Now to break it all down, the team started off 3-0. Things were looking amazing, really good, some really good wins. They beat a New Mexico Highland team who's a D2 school, still is a D2 school, I know I said was. So obviously that was going to happen. We expected them to blow them out, so they did what they were supposed to do, almost scored 100, which would have been awesome. Hopefully they can get a 100-point game next year. I remember the Hazing year team did it, but that was the Hazing team, so who cares, right? Then the second year of the season, we got our first road win of the season, our first road game of the year against Utah Tech, which was huge because, last year we didn't win a road game until the last road game of the season. So to get it done right away was amazing. And then we won the next game against a really good Corpus Christi team. I think I don't know how many wins they got. They didn't make the tournament, but they got about 20-ish wins, I think, in that range. So they had a good year, kind of like us. And so that was a great win after, they lost to UNM. By I think 19, and then we were up by 20 on them, and then almost blew the game, won by 1, and went to win. But then we lost 5 in a row. Things were looking great. I was still trying to believe in the team. I remember actually texting Coach Hooten hey, I still believe in you guys. Never got a text back, but I wasn't expecting to get one. But maybe the text enthusiast, maybe he saw it and helped them out, because they won the next game against UNM. Probably their best win of the season, I would say, or one of the best for sure, without a doubt. Won in overtime, should have won in regulation. I know Rob had a little tip, or not tip, but the gold end, but Coach Hooten even said it didn't really look like one. And then the guy who shot the 3, the white dude, the lefty, looked like he was out of bounds. I can't remember his name. He had a good game, but that shot was definitely out of bounds. You could see his feet were out. But of course the refs aren't going to review that. They were just against us all game, and I thought that was it. I thought they were going to lose it. in overtime because they had fought so hard, but they got it done. And I was super happy about that. We were actually the only team to beat the Lobos at the Pit this year. They were 14-1 at home, and then we beat the Mountain West champs, and they're playing today again against Marquette. Know them pretty well, know Donovan Dent pretty well, and I don't want to throw anything out there, but I heard from an anonymous source that Donovan Dent could have went to a different school after last year having a great year, but he decided to stay in Albuquerque because of his girlfriend, which again, you do your thing, that's your life. But I feel like if you had an opportunity to go play at a big school and you turn it down just because you wanted to stay in Albuquerque for a girl, I don't know. Me personally, I wouldn't do that, but hey, you do what you want to do, man. They then lost to Texas by 24 points, which makes sense. I mean, I know Texas lost in the tournament, but they're still, have a really talented team. I don't think anyone was expecting us to win that game. But, lost by 24. Honestly, in my opinion, a respectable loss against a Power 4 school. And then we won 7 in a row. Dang, my hair's like, I need to get a haircut. They won 7 in a row, which is great. Started off conference 4-0, but then they lost 6 out of 7, so it was not looking great. It was like, what the heck happened to the team that we love and know? And then they won 5 out of 6, and then they lost the last 2. I don't think I missed anything in there. I think that's how it went. So again, they went 17-15, 10-8 in conference, lost that, really close and amazing game against Kennesaw State. Wish we would have got it. Cook's 3 almost went in at the end, that half-court shot pretty much, and that was his closest shot all night. And then the free throws just proved to be a problem. Like we talked about Jacoby earlier, I know he missed that last free throw, but if it wasn't for him going to get that board and get the N1, we don't even have a chance. Would have been nice if he would have made it. I know he missed a couple other ones throughout the game, but so did everybody else. Like Robert and Peter played great, both had 21 points each, but they both missed a handful of free throws. And then I don't even Cook got to the line, which would have been nice because sometimes how he gets it going, even if he doesn't have his greatest shooting night, he still would get a lot of points from the free throw line. And again, wish Cook would have played a little bit better toward the end of the stretch. I actually saw him yesterday too at Taos, but I had just left Taos and then I was walking out and he was already in there. I didn't even notice him. So hopefully I can try to see him again sometime and say what's up. And again, try to figure out like who's coming back because I know Cook can't, but Harris might. That's his boy. Maybe he knows some info. Maybe Rob can somehow come back for like a 7th year of college basketball because I know he's played 4 years of college basketball at the Division I level. There's other 2 years I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he played somewhere or what. But if I ever find out, I'll definitely let you guys know. I just made a post about it on Twitter, Instagram, and even the community post here. We ended the season off way better than last year. 5-3, 5-1, and then lost the last 2. Where last year we ended off like 2-6, 2-7. Where we lost 6 straight, 1-2 loss. So yeah, like 2-7. Part of that being because I think Coach didn't make a great decision. Starting the Schmager brothers. And you watch those games and you wonder like, oh, why were they not always starting together? Sometimes you just gotta switch up the lineups, figure out what's working, and that's when he figured out it was gonna work. A lot of people may think like, oh, you should have done at the start of the year, but again, maybe it wouldn't have worked at the start of the year. But if it did, that'd be nice. If it was in a perfect world, if they were able to play the way they did toward the end of the season, that'd have been great. Because I think people forget again, the Schmanger brothers did not start off that great. I love those guys, but they were not playing the greatest brand of basketball to start the year. The work ethic was always there for all the guys. They just weren't playing, their best brand of basketball. But then once they started together, the connection was there. I can't tell you how many passes Emmanuel had to Nate, and then they scored, or Nate passed to Emmanuel, they finished. They always had fun playing with each other. Again, their connection is just great. Every time I see them, they're always happy with each other. They're brothers. I'm sure, they have the brotherly love. I'm sure they have tough love. I'm sure they get into arguments sometimes, especially on the court. But for the most part, they just looked like their connection was, unguardable. They defended at a high level, rebounded at a high level, moved a lot quicker. That's something Coach Huden really enjoyed and said in a lot of the conferences. And that's something I think a lot of fans noticed, including myself, and I'm sure including you guys as well. Obviously, we have the 4 returners, with 3 of them playing really big roles. Cook, again, our second best player, arguably our best player too, but just toward the end of the stretch, Peter was playing way better. But he averaged 12.8 points on the season, about 2.5 boards a game, shot about just under 37% from 3, which again was higher than last year. So even though he had this little slump toward the last month of the year, still shot better than last year. I think people forget he also had a slump middle of the season where he didn't shoot the ball great. So like last season, he started off not too bad, not too great. Then he had a slump, and then he just balled out. He had a handful of games at the start of the season he was playing really good, but at the end of the season he was just dominating. That's why his points per game average went up a couple points, because he was averaging like under 10 and then it went up over 11. This year started off really strong. He never had a bad game, and then he had a rough stretch toward the end. But overall, a good season for him. He was averaging like 15 points a game at one point, but then again toward the end just kind of went down a little bit. But he still played great. And again, when his shot wasn't falling, he still played great defense. And he still had a great year overall, despite the struggle at the end of the year. So nothing to hang his head about. And he's definitely a pro, can play professional basketball somewhere overseas possibly. I've even heard that he might want to try to enter the NBA draft. Don't know if he could get drafted. I'd love for him to, but for being realistic, I just don't know if it would happen. But hey, I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he has a chance to, I think he might want to play for the Thunder just because he's from there. So I guess we'll see what happens. If he's on the Thunder, he'd have a chance to win a championship. Be like I said about to say the second Aggie with a championship. I've heard Randy Brown got one too. Randy Brown, Pascal. Then I guess if Cook were to do it, I don't know if anybody else has done it. Let me know if you guys know about that in the comments. Obviously talk about Rob, and I'm going to keep bringing my professor because he was my sports writing professor last semester and actually helped me get an internship in Artesia at the Daily Press there in town, so shout out to him. But Rob had a great year, averaged 10.1 points, 5.8 boards, and led the team in blocks at 0.7. Did a lot of great things, was one of our best defenders, if not our best defender, and shot the ball at a high rate. It's funny, the past couple of days I've been hooping, running some games that I've been like shooting a bunch of threes, just popping a lot of shots, and I feel like Rob out there. I feel like I've been playing my game after him a little bit, because honestly, again, Cook was our best shooter all year long, but Rob was our best shooter down the stretch in those last couple games. So great season for him overall, especially after last year when he had that punch and didn't play the last 10 games or so. That's another reason I guess he could have another year of eligibility if he wants to try to get away from the NCAA, say like, hey, I know it was my fault, but I didn't play those last 10 games. I didn't really play a full season. He's had other years where he didn't play a full year because he was hurt. I was talking healing bout, like I mentioned today, and I mentioned it in the past too. So maybe Big Shot Rob comes back, but who knows, right? I doubt it, but there's a slight chance, I guess. But again, does he really want to play college basketball for 7 years? Not sure how old the guy is, but I'd assume he's like 24-ish. So we'll see what he decides to do. I guess we had Teddy Allen play until he was like 23, 24. So we'll just see what happens. Jaden Harris, like I mentioned multiple times on the channel, just played a pivotal role at the bench. He's one of those guys that's like Chick-fil-A. Averaged 5.3 points, 2.2 boards. Led the team in free throw percentage at 84.8. And, free throws were a struggle all year long, as you guys know. But he did not. He shot really well. Last year, he kind of struggled from the line. I think he shot around the 70s or even below that. But at the start of the season, he was shooting poorly, like 60s. And then he even missed some free throws at the beginning of the year really bad. Like he airballed one against Utah Tech. I say Tech, people might think Texas Tech, who they won yesterday too. Almost lost. But so his free throws then weren't looking good. He had a 0-point game. He had other games where he didn't score, like the last game against Kansas State. I don't believe he scored. But overall, just played great. I mean, you look at his points per game average last year to this year, it dropped about 2, because it was 7.3, then 5.3. But again, he played on a better team. Last year, he was kind of asked to probably move more of a scorer. This year, he was able to do a lot more things than just that, rebound, assist, and just do a lot of other things other than just scoring. His defense was great too. His defense was good last year too, but in my opinion, it was a lot better this year as well. Same with Cook. His defense was good last year, but improved this year. A lot of that, and then Rob too. And then our other returner, Christopher Bayaku, didn't get a whole lot of PT. Played in 8 games this year. Had some games. I think his best game was like 3 points and 2 boards against, I can't remember who it was. I think it was against Southwest or one of those non-D1 teams we played against. But he showed tremendous, he fought through adversity, which was great, because last year after his first game he actually got in some true minutes and played for about 6 and then just got hurt. One of the first couple plays of the game, I think he rolled his ankle, rolled his leg. I can't remember exactly what the injury was, but coming off that, it's definitely huge. So shout out to him for that. Obviously, with only 4 returners, 3 of them playing big roles was great, but you need more than just 3 players to win basketball games. Obviously, Peter was great for us. As we mentioned in that season awards video, I gave him the MVP award for our team, averaged 13.1 points and 8.2 rebounds, which led the team. Zadie Jackson, scored pretty well, averaged 10.5 points, led the team in assists at 3.1. Again, I guess he entered the portal, but hopefully he can try to come back to be awesome. But he did a lot of great things as well, and we're going to miss him if he's gone for sure. Deontay Bostic was great, and as you guys know, before the season started, I'm not going to lie, I will say I did expect more from him. I thought he was going to be more of a scorer for us, just because he's averaged 15 a game at Cal State Northridge, in a pretty good conference. But I didn't realize he was probably the only guy that needed to score for that team. Kind of like how Zadie was when he averaged 22 at West Georgia at Division II school. He's one of the highest scorers and one of the better players at the Division II level. But he kind of needed to score that much for them to win. Kind of like how I feel like Deontay might have felt. He had to score probably at least 15 to 20 for his team to win. Whereas here, he didn't have to do that. So he was like a Swiss Army knife is what people were saying. This guy Bob on Twitter was saying that. He's been commenting on all my stuff. So shout out to you if you're watching this, and just shout out to him in general. But Deontay averaged 6.5 points, led the team in steals at 1.1, averaged about, I think it was at 3.2 boards. So just a lot of great things overall. I'm kind of having the stats memorized in a way, just because I've been posting a lot about it and making that story about it. So yeah, I want to go back and talk about the brothers a little bit. I remember whenever Hooten first signed them, he thought it'd be a great addition just to have them on the team, and I think it'd be great vibes, and I think it paid off. I know we talked a little bit about the freshmen earlier, but just want to talk about more Gabe and Jacoby. Probably going to make a post on those guys tomorrow. I think those guys are going to be really great for a future, and I don't see why they would leave. I think Gabe's a tremendous point guard, true point guard, pass first. Has a lot of great playmaking skills, and then Jacoby's just really great on the defensive end. Just improved so much. Again, was our most improved player in my opinion. Who knows? Marvin Cox can maybe slide into a late rotation spot, work for it. He's a red shirt walk on, I think. But we'll see how he does. Maybe he can do some great things, and hopefully I can talk to him again and tell him that how we played against each other in high school. Probably doesn't remember because it was like 3 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, almost 4, which is crazy to think how much time flies. But he might think that's cool. Who knows? Maybe not. But I want to tell him, so I'm just gonna do that. Obviously, we talked about the UNM, win earlier, but that game was just great. I mean, Cook played amazing, 27 points. That's probably his best game. Rob played good, had 20. That was arguably his best game. Deontay had his best game. There's no doubt about it. Had 17 points, 8 boards, 5 assists. The team just played really well that game. I thought there were some moments where Deontay was a little selfish. Like, I felt like he could have passed it up to get it to Cook for another lay. But Deontay kind of held it and then missed the free throws. I was like, come on, dude. But he said his best game of the year. He struggled with free throws, but, like Deontay, but so did everyone else pretty much, except for, even Cook shot below 80% from the line, but he still shot it pretty well for the most part. Rob struggled from the line. Peter had his games where he was good, his moments. Zadie was pretty consistent for the most part. A lot of times when it came to close game situations, he didn't always make them, but down the stretch of the year, he definitely made them a lot more. And then Jaden was really consistent with it, like we said. So it's a good job overall for them. Obviously, that UTEP win by almost 30 on the road was great. Even though we lost them at home, still had a winning record against our rivals, 2-1. So that was great overall. And Zadie had a great game against UTEP, 18 points, 7 for 7 shooting, but missed a free throw. But he was perfect from the field though, so that's great. One of the more intriguing wins, you could say. I know Russ Bradford was, talking about this on Twitter and commented on my post about it. Whenever the Aggies beat Louisiana Tech, the preseason #1 favorite, by 30 early in conference, go 2-0. That was awesome. I couldn't watch that game, but I was at the mall. I went to B-Dubs with my sister. Last time I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. That place is amazing. I need to go there again soon. Maybe I'll go there soon. Technically, Diego, since I drove him to work and stuff, he said he would pay for my food next time we go eat. So maybe we'll try to go there. He's paid for my food there a couple times. Super good stuff. Super good deals. But yeah, that's not the point of this video. I'm fat talking about food. But yeah, Cook had a good game in that game as well, 19 points. But that was like getting to the point where, Cook almost wasn't playing great. And he was 13 all conference, which was great. Had a great year overall. But conference-wise, just wish he would have played a little bit better. I know I've said that a bunch. But again, I hold him to a high standard. I know he's a great player. And I also know that a lot of teams were game planning him really hard. So he was facing the toughest defenses on the team. And he still played through it and still hit some clutch shots. And, he had that 24-point outing against Middle Tennessee, which is great. I think he needed that game just to ball out. He had 12 against Sam Houston. It was on 12 shots. He had 3 clutch shots when it mattered the most. So overall, just a really clutch player and just a great season overall for him. As you guys know, the team was way better on the road this year than they were last year. Slightly worse at home. At home last year, the team was 12-3. This year, 9-6, and conference is 4-5. But on the road, they were 8-6 overall and 6-3 in conference, which was almost a conference best, just behind Liberty. We were tied for the best road record. Then we lost that one at the end against Sam Houston. Would have been tied at that point, I think, because I think Liberty's only 2 road losses were in conference. So second best behind Liberty, who's the best in the conference. Unfortunately, they wouldn't. Screw Liberty. Hopefully, they can get into a bigger conference. They just keep winning, and I want that to end today against Oregon. Again, if I wasn't, let's say I never went to college, right? I'd probably be an Oregon fan just because, that's where I'm from. But I love the Aggies, and I'm glad to go to school here. Love covering them and everything. It's great. But today, rooting for Oregon and rooting for Marquette against, Liberty and UNM. And then if the Aggies would have made it, they probably would have got a 15 seed. But who knows? The Aggies can have a great year next year. And, I'm not saying they're going to have a year like Liberty. But they've proven to be, even though it's Conference 2, it's a smaller conference, still get 12 seed. Kind of like the WAC days whenever the Aggies would always get 12 seeds. I'm trying to think what the highest seed we could get. If we were to go undefeated somehow, what seed they would give us because we're in Conference 2, say. I would assume it had to be a top 8, right? But who knows? UNM got 10th after winning the Mountain West. And what was it, Boise State? They beat them and got the championship game, but lost to Colorado State. So Boise State didn't make it, though, which I thought was weird. It's dude, they still made the championship game and beat UNM, beat the Mountain West champs just like us. They should have gotten in. But again, that's just, it's weird the way they pick it. Hopefully they can make some changes because I think it's needed. Another thing I think it's important to note, and I mentioned this a couple times I think on the channel, is that we led Conference 2 in attendance again. The Aggies, our fans are the best in the conference. 6,031 fans on average, which was a little bit more than last year. Last year was just under 6,000, around 5,000 something. I can't remember exactly. So people are talking trash about our fans sometimes, but it's dude, we still led the conference in attendance. So screw you, especially UTEP. They're the ones always talking, even though they, have a bigger stadium and we still fit more people. So screw you guys. Yeah. Speaking of UTEP, just El Paso in general, I'm going to kind of talk some more trash. Our Barstool in MSU, he posted something, and I showed, it was the other day when it was super windy on Tuesday, showing how there was some dude just streaking in El Paso randomly. Pretty crazy. Come on, El Paso, get your act together. Also, we had so many talented players, so many talented offensive players. The offense just wasn't always there. Shot poorly. Only shot like 41.5% from the field in the year. Shot about 32% from three, and only 66% from the line. That is awful. I think last year we shot in the 70s. I want to say lower 70s. The Aggies had really been great at free throws, but this year in particular was probably like the worst group of free throw shooters we've had. So again, hopefully for next year we can improve on that and get players that can actually shoot the free throw ball well. I know they work on it. It's just they just don't always go in. Again, I love Nate. He improved a lot throughout the year, but he shot like 25 or 26% from the free throw line, I believe. Could be wrong on that. Please do not quote me. But I remember at one point it was like that, and I think it stayed like that. And in his defense, he didn't go to the free throw line a whole lot. But when he did, he just didn't convert. I don't know how many free throws he shot total, but it's not like he shot like 100 and only made 20 something. I think he shot way less than that. And I could be wrong on that too. But not great. Again, defense is what helped us win games, especially that game against Western Kentucky. They only shot 26.9% from the field and 25% from three. And we didn't have our greatest shooting game in that game either, but we were able to dominate just because of our defense. And this was easily, again, one of Coach Huden's best defensive teams. He said that multiple times, and so has Payne Andrus and his other assistant coaches. This team was great defensively. Again, if they were as great as they were on the defensive end, on the offensive end, man, this team would have been, I don't even want to know how good they would be. It would have been insane. And then, like I said, if they were as good as they were at home, last year, this year, and then you combine that with how good they were at home on the road, this team, and then you combine if their offense was as good as their defense, dude, this team wins 25 games, minimum. There's no way, right? There's no way they don't. Obviously, as you guys know, and like I said, you guys are probably getting tired of hearing it, but again, that Kennesaw State loss does hurt, 80-77, but that's a classic. That was a good game. Again, free throws hurt us that game, but I love the heart. And Jack Nixon even said in his last game, he was just saying like, I'd rather the Aggies go out without a fight, or go out in a fight, in a dog fight, than just lose by double digits. So shout out the Aggies for fighting hard and almost coming back to win that game. Yeah, so I think it's going to close out the video. I know it was a longer one, but I really appreciate you guys for sticking through it and watching it. Again, I went kind of through the layout of that Crimson Wire video. So if there were some things you didn't understand, go read that. And again, I'll try to make a post about it. Or if you just want to look up Crimson Wire NMSU, it should be one of the first things that pops up. Go to sports, find, I think I titled it New Mexico State, not just first winning season since 2022 or something around the lines of that. That might exactly be what it is. Just click on that and I'll be there. It'll show my name that I wrote it. I really appreciate you guys for watching this video. Really appreciate you guys if you're able to check out that story. Again, I'll try to post it. Probably won't be able to post it on this at all or post a link here, but I'll, again, maybe try to do it as a community post if I remember. I don't think there's much more to say other than, I think we're trending in the right direction. You look at last year, first year of the rebuild, got 13 wins, even though we had a losing record. If a couple more games could have went our way, it could have possibly had a winning season then. And then this year, had a winning year. Again, if a couple more things went our way, could have got 20 plus wins. Biggest improvement I want to see for next year, depending on whether we keep guys or get new guys, as I would love to see the Aggies just close out games a little bit better, not blow any big leads, because that's what our teams in the day were really good at avoiding. And I feel like if our teams next year could, have similar games like this that we had this year, but win them, we win 20 to 25 games, like I've said a lot of times. I could definitely see it happening. Just need our offense to be as good as our defense, man. If we can try to replicate that defense, that'd be awesome. If we can just get some really talented offensive players. I'm not saying we're going to get a guy like Teddy Allen or Trevin Queen or anything like that, but it'd be ideal if we could get someone that's like, close to as good as those guys. Maybe get a guy who's playing at a Power 4 school who's like a solid role player, but doesn't, not like the star, could maybe come here and be the star or something like that. And we'll see if that happens. I feel like there's a chance it could. I feel like we're really good at developing guys. Sometimes we'll bring guys down from the Power 4 level and they're able to develop well here and work their way back up to a Power 4 school or even playing professional or just finishing their career out here as an Aggie. Shout out to Lou Henson. I love this shirt. I didn't always wear it as extra large, and they just threw it at me so I couldn't pick the size. But I think it fits me pretty well. Let me know what you guys think about it. And again, let me know what you guys think about this video. And I'm out.